Hello everyone and welcome to Tranquility Through Life's Natural Beauty. And don't forget to check out my main channel, New Beginnings, my everyday life in rural Cyprus. And I hope to see you over there as well. So you get double the content from little me. So I hope you enjoy both channels that are completely different formats. So don't forget as well, on my other channel, you can see me live on Mondays and Wednesdays. Okay, let's first of all have a look at what's coming up on today's live stream. So apart from our normal quote corner, which I will be trying to change them up again, I give them a few weeks or a month and then I change them up. So we have new quote corners coming up real soon, and go back and look at some past videos to see other quote corners. We'll also be talking a little bit, sharing some ideas on reuse, recycle and repurpose, and explaining the differences of some of these types of words. We have question of the day coming up, and it's a doozy. It's a really good question, so I'll be interested in your answers. If you're watching this back later, please do put your answers to question of the day in the comments, and I will be very interested in reading them. I love reading your comments. We also have quiz time. And we also have today story time. Now, it's a real story today, a real story, something that I find extremely interesting, but more about that when we get to that. So let's start first of all today with Quote Corner. And as it's Friday, we have the quote for Fridays currently. So I hope you took motivation from Quote Corner today. And let's start straight away with this. So I thought today we'd do a quiz on ancient Egypt. How much do you know about ancient Egypt? Now, these are medium level questions today, so you should be able to get a good few of these. If not, then you'll learn something new today. The first question is, what form of writing did the Egyptians use? So what was the name of the form of writing Egyptians used? And I'm going to read all the questions first, and then I'll come back with the answer after that. The next question is, what was papyrus made from? So the paper they used was papyrus, or papyrus, depending on where you're from as to how you pronounce it. What was the paper they used made from? The next question is, what was usually buried with an Egyptian's body? So they had some items buried with them. What were those items? And I will tell you there's 4 things listed, 4 types of things listed. So see if you can think of the 4 things that were usually buried with an Egyptian's body. Next question is, how did the Egyptians usually decorate their coffins? Oh, I didn't know this one. How did the Egyptians usually decorate their coffins? The next question is, what was opening the mouth? So when they talked about opening the mouth, what was that? I didn't know that either. Are you with me so far on the questions? The next question is, what is the biggest pyramid called? What is the biggest pyramid called? And the last question for today is, what flower was the symbol of the Nile? What flower was the symbol of the Nile? So let's go over those again with the answers this time. Question 1. What form of writing did the Egyptians use? And of course, that's hieroglyphics. Did you remember? The next question was, what was the type of paper they used made from? And the answer is reeds. And the next question, what was usually buried with an Egyptian's body? And I said there were 4 main types of things, and the answers are their clothes, their furniture, food, and drink. So they are the 4 things they were buried with. How did the Egyptians usually decorate their coffins? And the answer is, which I didn't know, with a portrait of the dead person. I suppose they named it with pictures who was inside. What was opening the mouth? Now, I didn't know this one, did you? It's a ceremony performed by priests at a dead pharaoh's tomb. Tell me in the comments below if you knew that or not. What is the biggest pyramid called? Well, of course, it's the Great Pyramid of Giza. I'm sure you all got that one. And the last one was, what flower was the symbol of the Nile? And the answer is, did you know, the lotus? So how did you do today on ancient Egyptians? Did you know much about those? I think most people cover those in school, in history. Did you? So there we go on that. That is our quiz of the day. Okay, let's go on now to this. I have a little mambo there with that music. That's very good mambo music indeed. I could show you a whole mambo routine if only you weren't watching that. So, question of the day today is, if you had completely unlimited amount of rooms in your house, so don't think of like your bedroom, your bathroom, all those things people have. If you had an unlimited amount of rooms in your house, what would you use all those extra rooms for? Now, I've always wanted a big library, and I mean like a proper library, not just a room with books, a whole library. Some people like a games room. What would you put in there if you had a games room? We have the astute tourist with us today. So hello to the astute tourist, and here's a special hello just for you. So we're talking about if you had an unlimited amount of rooms in your house, what would you use all those extra rooms for? I was talking the other day to Mike. I don't have a greenhouse, and there wouldn't be much cause really to have one here because it would be too hot 99% of the year to use one. But this time of year in the winter, I grow in my sun lounge. Well, obviously, when you're growing in there, I haven't got a potting area or anything like that in there. It's just shelves with my seeds that are growing in there. But I would like a proper, separate, not quite a greenhouse, a cross between almost an orangery. So a cross between a greenhouse and a sunroom. But I would then have like all my potting area there and loads of shelves, and when I pot up I take it outside and do it on the outside bar, which is tiled, so that's great. But it'd be nice to actually have a room where I don't have to keep taking things in and out. So it would be a cross, as I say, between a conservatory and orangery, but it would be really for growing my plants. But I'd want a Victorian or Edwardian one. I don't know if any of you know what they look like. That like a big glass house, extremely exotic looking, with wrought iron, and makes all curly shapes on the roof, and very pretty. Something like that I would like. But also it's got to be amazingly huge because I would want chairs in there. So it's sort of a conservatory as well, but still keep my sun lounge as is. It's just this time of year, if we sit in there on the sofa, you're looking at all my shelves of growing, which is good in one respect, but you can't really see out the window. So I would have that for sure. What else would I have? Mr. Jimmy from the Astute Tourist. I could have guessed the first one. Music studio. I could have guessed that. A craft room. YouTube studio. Well, that's what this room is. This is my YouTube studio. So I have that. Or as I call it, my creation station, because over in the corner I have what I've shown in a recent video, how I've got all my storage for all my craft stuff. I used to have another table down that end where I did have the crafts. So it was kind of, hence why it's called creation station. It's YouTube and that. The Astute Tourist would also have a library. That was the first thing I said. A dungeon. Oh, cool. Oh, yeah, I think I'd have one of those, please. An aviary. Oh, that's interesting. That would be beautiful. I'd have something like that, but I'd probably do it in this conservatory type, sun lounge type greenhouse thing I'd have. I'd have butterflies. And as I said, it'd be enormous. So, they've got lots of freedom. I'd have butterflies rather than birds. Yeah, I'd have butterflies in there. What else would I have? I tell you what I would like. You've got put the idea in my head because you've said dungeon. I'd like one of these houses where they had normally for smuggling, like a walkway under the house, like caves. And but it would be going, say, from if you're in the middle of the countryside, and it would be all under your house, and it'd be a secret pathway to the sea or something like that. That would be also cool. Stu Terry says a conservatory. Well, I have my sun lounge, but as I say, more of a growing room separate. I'd have, I'm going to get silly now, I'd have a garden tea room because, of course, if I had a house with unlimited rooms, I would have a lot of money, obviously. So I would have my chef and I'd have my butler. And I would have cream teas to order, set time of the day. So I would have that. A grotto. Oh, cool. Okay, you're off to work there. Thanks for popping in. See, you're giving me motivation for what rooms I can plan. What else would I have? I think a games room. I'm not into like fantasy role play, not that sort of game, just like a playroom, but for adults. Don't take that the wrong way. So it's like board games and just a room where all my games are. I have said another games room, but that's going to be like a snooker table, table tennis table, that kind of thing. Ooh, what else? I've already got a dance studio on my land, on my property. So, but otherwise I would say that. But I would like a separate gym. Whether I would use it more because it's there, I don't know. I know people that do have a separate gym to try and motivate themselves, but that doesn't always happen. A theatre room. I guess some of you may already have that, like a proper cinema room. What else? I wonder if a lot of you would just say, well, if I had that many rooms, I'd just rent them all out and make some income. There is that. Ooh, what else? I think Mike would like an actual, he's got outbuildings. He's got 2 big outbuildings that he stores all his man things in, like tools and bits of recovered wood and things like that. But I think he would like a full-size, huge industrial side, proper workshop. He doesn't have tons of tools. He has hand tools, not much power tools or like big cutting saws or anything like that. But I think he would like that, possibly. I have to ask him later what he would have if he could have one room. I would say a party room, but I have my dance studio and that's basically our party room now. We already have 2 bars in our house. We have an indoor bar and an outdoor bar, so we don't need that. But I guess some of you might go for that. What else would you do if you had unlimited rooms in your house? I've got a swimming pool. We don't need an indoor pool, but I guess some of you would have maybe an indoor pool or sauna room or therapy room, something like that. I know what I would have. You know what they do for some people with spatial disabilities? They do a room of pretty lights and things you can touch and feel, and like a spatial awareness room. I think I would have that, just with awesome lights, but then we could put that in Mr. Jimmy from the Astute Tourist grotto. We could just have that all filled with pretty lights and that kind of thing. Maybe a sewing room. That doesn't really come under craft room, even though sewing is a craft. I think you need a craft room and then a separate sewing room because we've got unlimited rooms. I wonder if any of you would have sport pitches indoors. So like an indoor volleyball court or an indoor football pitch or something like that. Would you have that? Hey, would any of you have an ice skating rink? Or an indoor, when I said a gym, what about an actual gymnasium rather than exercise gym? Oh, we could go on and on. Please put in the comments below all the types of rooms that you would like if it was totally unlimited space and amount of rooms. What would you do? Try and put them in the order you prefer them as well if you comment. Yes, I look forward to reading those. I think everyone will look forward to reading those. So we'll check out the comments below. Okay, let's go on to, I want to talk today briefly about recycling. There's upcycling, recycling, repurpose, reuse, and just some of the basic differences of these things. So we are going to have a little clip on some ideas of this in a minute. Let me see. So let's do the little introduction for that first, but then I'm going to talk about it first, and then we'll have a little clip of some ideas. So here's the intro. So lots of people get a bit mixed up or use the words wrongly. That doesn't really matter. At least you're doing something to help the environment and to stop waste. But these are the actual words with the correct use of those words. So first of all, we have upcycle. Upcycle is basically use something for its basic purpose, but improve its use or its efficiency or its purpose in some respect. So you might have an old mirror from, did any of you ever have those sliding wardrobe doors that were mirrors? So it's still going to be a mirror, but you might not use it for that. You might take it off of there and you might hang it up as a mirror. And then to improve it as well, you might put a picture frame around it to look really cool or something like that. So the mirror is still a mirror, but you've improved its use in some way, and basically you've just made it better. Oh, let's get Fossil. So here's Fossil. Here's Fossil saying hello. You're going to get your claws caught again. Yeah, then she complains. She keeps getting her claws hooked now she's old. There you go. You go down because you're only going to get hooked and shout. Okay, so then we have reuse. This is the same item used elsewhere in a similar fashion or an unchanged state. So, for example, a sand bucket, you might reuse it as a bucket, but to water the garden. So that's basically what that is. So you're still using a bucket as a bucket. You haven't upgraded it or changed it in any way. You've just reused it for another thing. Maybe you've made it a vase or something like that. But the bucket is still only a bucket. It's not been prettied up, glorified, or changed in any way. Repurpose. Repurpose means an item used in a completely different way. So this is very different from the use of it in the first place. For a use it was not intended to have. For example, a casserole pot you might then use as a flower pot. Or plastic bottles you might use, like I do, to make cloches over your seeds that are germinating. So repurpose, as it says, is to use something for a completely different purpose. Recycle. I'm sure you know what recycle is. Recycle means when something is transformed to no longer resemble the item it was. So, for example, I shred paper and I make mulch, or plastic bottles can be melted down so they don't look like the item they were. They can be made, melted down into other plastic items, or car tyres can be made into shoes, which I do have a video on if you're interested in that, or bags. I do have a bag that's made out of an old tyre. You wouldn't even know it. It does not look anything like a tyre. It's soft material, but it is from an old tyre. So recycle is to completely change what the item looks like, i.e. not recognisable. So recycle doesn't mean to reuse or to repurpose. That's a word I think most people get mixed up with. They think it means a plastic bottle, you put it in the recycling bin and it gets washed and cleaned out and comes back as a plastic bottle. That isn't recycling, that's reusing. So they're the words that people may often get mixed up with. So then you can test yourself and you can say things and then decide which category they belong in, such as a big old wagon wheel you can lay on the ground and use as a herb garden to divide up all your different types of herbs. An ironing board, it can be, as I've just said, if you do potting up and don't have the space, it can be a fold down potting table to do your potting on. So that's a good use. Old bar stools, perhaps you want to trial plants and you're not of a ability to make stakes or put things in the ground. Perhaps you live in a concrete area where it's all concrete around you, or you're on a veranda or patio and you can't dig or put stakes in or tie things to. So use an old bar stool as a stand for a trailing plant. Again, if you're not able to do things yourself and you want some beds, some flower beds, again, if you're in a concrete garden or no garden, then you can use old drawers from a chest of drawers and make those as growing beds. And it's always best to line things like that, and then they will last much longer. I also use a lot of different bits of furniture. I've used an old suitcase to plant in. Just open the old suitcase and you can grow things in there. You can use any form of furniture. If you can see it, you can use it for something or other. I'm pretty sure that's the game I like to do, is just find things and then find the purpose for them. I use a lot of old fridge and freezer drawers and shelves, and you've seen I cover my plants with those as well. And basically you can also use, you can buy craft boxes, but you can also find drawers where people pull out little drawers for nails and things like that. You can use those and you can start seeds in those little drawers because you won't need much water, so it saves water and it will keep them moist as starting seeds. So there's a few ideas there to get you going, and now I'm going to share a short film of some more ideas of how you can reuse, repurpose, recycle and upcycle things in your garden. So enjoy. From every produce we grow, we collect the seeds or split and replant the pods for our next crop. We use the reverse sides of old paper before making it into mulch for growing, using a paper cutter rather than a mechanical shredder. Most plant waste is put on the compost, except for things such as these, the skins of our cactus fruit.
What do we do with the bits that are left over? Well, we put them outside for the goats who come past our house nearly every day.
So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that gave you some motivation to go and find something. As I say, I'm not looking for things. We also often go down the local dump and I just find things. And you would have seen a few of my videos where I just find things and I often show you what I found and say, don't know what I'm going to use this for yet, but we will find a use, and we do. We find use, and that's part of the fun for me. Who needs to go to brocants or car boot sales or garage sales? Go down your local dump if you're permitted to, and I don't know why they wouldn't let you take stuff if you're going to use it. Okay, for my final part today, we're going to do this. So this is a book. I'd heard about it and then I managed to find the book, and it was in a secondhand bookshop. They were literally giving the books away. And this is a true story. It's Victoria Hislop and it's called The Island. Now be careful, there's many films called The Island, but there is a film of this book. So make sure you've got the right film of The Island, because there are many films. If you look on YouTube, there's many films called The Island. So I recommend it as a read anyway. And I'm going to read you the back of it, so it might be something you're interested in. On the brink of a life-changing decision, Alexis Fielding longs to find out about her mother's past, but Sophia has never spoken of it. All she admits to is growing up in a small Cretan village before moving to London. When Alexis decides to visit Crete, however, Sophia gives her daughter a letter to take to an old friend and promises that through her she will learn more. Arriving in Plaka means tile, by the way. Arriving in Plaka, Alexis is astonished to see that it lies a stone's throw from the tiny deserted island of Spinalonga, Greece's former leper county. Then she finds Fotini and at last hears the story that Sophia has buried all her life, the tale of her great-grandmother Eleni and her daughters and a family rent by tragedy, war and passion. She discovers how intimately she is connected with the island and how secrecy holds them all in its powerful grip. Now, it is about how leprosy was discovered on the land, the mainland, and how they were sent across to the island. And obviously the trauma of that, if you suddenly had your 6-year-old child dragged away in the night because they'd heard your child had leprosy, you might be trying to hide it, and indeed many did try to hide it, but they were found out from the different forms that showed itself to be leprosy, and it was hard for them to find out. Some people just sent their children or their parents or themselves across because they were afraid of others catching it. What a dilemma indeed. And this is a story. It is a very interesting story. As I say, it is true and it is a really great story to get into. As I say, first of all, it's just about how she wants to find out about her family, but then leprosy takes hold, and the actual Plaka, the place they're in, as they say, you can just see across the island, but they weren't obviously allowed to visit, and they knew what it was like. And it tells you about the island today and so on and so forth. So there's a lot there. I won't spoil it for you in case you want to read it, but do look out for it. It got a British Book Award of 2007, the Galaxy one, which is quite famous. there. Do have a read of it. As I always say, if you can't find a book online, go to your local library and ask for it. And if they don't have it, they will order it in for you. So, as I say, I don't want to ruin it, but that is a very, very good read. As you may know, when I read a book, I keep it if I really enjoyed it and know I will read it again, or else I pass them on. And this is a keeper for sure. I haven't seen the film. I've seen clips of the film on YouTube, but as yet I haven't found it released on YouTube. But I would definitely watch that. And the author, Victoria Hislop, she is actually in the film, playing a part in the film. And I like it as well because it's a film where they did bring a lot of the true villagers in and a lot of the people that were there at the time. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thank you so much for being here. I'm thanking you if you're watching back later as well. Thank you so much for being here. And I will see you again next week. Bye for now. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up.